Right, we have here our garbage check pattern. You can see my basting stitches running through every couple inches, holding our layers together. See them on the back. That's going to hold it while we whip around all the different colors. All right, we're going to do some outline quilting. We've put the foot so the seam is just slightly, the needle is just slightly to the right of the seam, kind of using the inside of this side of the foot as a guide. And we're just going to go nice and slow, following the seam. Okay, when we get to the corner, we're going to lift up the foot. We're just going to turn the whole quilt here. Move that back so you can see. Rotating the whole quilt. You might have to roll it to get it under your machine. And then we're going to just continue. Put the foot down and go right up the next side. Okay, so we've gone around the top of the truck, the blue, we've gone around the bottom of the truck doing the brown stitch, moving around the main part of the truck, which covered the tires, around the light and window using a white. So then you just keep looking for places that aren't stitched yet. We need to hit this gray, and that will be great because we'll also go around the inside of the tires and hit that gray in every section. Okay, so we've done the gray. The last color that we need on this is going to be to do the stripes down the middle of the actual garbage truck. I'm going to do that in a light green. You could also do it in the yellow. I'm going to choose green because these stripes are so wide. I'm actually going to do a second stripe down the middle of the machine. Now I'll show you that in a second. So again, my bottom thread is still the blue for the back. We're just changing the top thread to a matching green. Okay, just a little tip as we finish this last green seam, we're sewing down the seam. Of course, we've been talking about keeping our hands here and keeping it flat, and that's especially important as you approach a cross seam, so you don't get a bunch up here, that you keep this flat. And you kind of pull that nice, easy seam. Okay, as we flip this over to the back, we've done all the colors on the front and outlined the truck. Which you can see as you turn here to the back that we have, you can kind of see that truck on the back. But you'll notice this is a simple pattern, so we have a lot of space left to fill. So I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks you can do to fill your larger spaces. Okay, so I am going to be using my walking foot guide bar to make some extra quilting lines in the middle sections of a colored piece where there's no seam for me to follow. So I would measure, this one is about 6 inches. These inner lines are 4.5, so I'm going to go about half of this is 2 1/4, and split these in two so they look about the same. So then I would take my ruler here, setting my guide bar on the seam, and measure 2 inches from the seam to where the needle is going to go down. And then I will just sew using the guide bar down the seam to sew a straight quilting line. Okay, so like I said, we're just gonna follow that guide bar, watching over here more than you're watching your needle, that stays straight as you quilt. Another little tip when using the guide bar, so here my green seam is going to start further back and I don't have a seam to follow, at least where I start, so I'm going to use a ruler or a piece of cardboard or template, something to set the guide bar against as I start sewing this first part. Okay, another way to fill space, in between this brown we have a seam, and you can just follow that straight, but as this is dirt, I thought it would be fun to do a trick I learned in a walking foot class, which was to just do a slow zigzag, very shallow, around the seam, which just kind of makes it look like lumps. So I'm going to get away from it a little bit, and come back and cross it on this side a little bit, cross it on this side just a little bit, and just kind of work my way using the seam as a guide, but not staying 100% on the seam, which can give you just a fun lumpy look. Great for filling in dirt or water. Another possibility in filling empty space is adding to the picture. So sometimes in the sky I will add a cloud, or you can use something to trace and a chalk pencil. And add yourself a little sunshine to fill in empty space. And then we'll quilt those lines. So you can see here the things we've added to fill the space. There's our quilted sun, some little dashed lines in the window. I went down the seams and made kind of a door opening. I just did that in white and had kind of fun making a little logo, just tracing a circle. Do a little mountain and water. And if you feel like your tires are too big, you can put in a center hub, or sometimes people will do tread in the tire. And then we've got our little dirt lines following the seams under the tire.